Next news story. Let's get through them, family. All right. So this is something I've talked about for a while, just as far as um, the racism in our country being more covert and not overt, right? So when we talk about white supremacy, when we talk about systematic oppression, this next story kind of speaks to that, right? So let's get into it. Excuse me. A black California couple said they believe race definitely played a role in the significantly different appraisal values of their home after its value increased by 50% when a white friend of the family pretended the home in suburb of Sausalito was their own, right? So when we talk about, again, when we talk about racism, we talk about the communities in America, like I was telling you about the book I recommended to you guys called Sundown Town by James Lowen. This book details all of these sundown towns in America. These were all white enclaves in America, towns, and a lot of them are still standing today. And the book goes over all of the measures that was taken um, to keep these towns all white. And one of the measures was coalescing with the real estate developers and the real estate agents, and how they would sell houses to groups of people based on how they looked and based on their religion and their race and all these things, right? So this is something that we still face it in 2020, family. Paul Austin and his wife Tanisha Tate Austin say their Marine City home was valued at just 100,000 more than what they bought it for, even after the couple staged major renovations to the property, costing them about $400,000. So they put 400,000 into the house, right? But after the couple spoke with a white friend who agreed to make the home look like it belonged to her during a second appraisal, the home value increased by 50%, right? So ain't that some man, ain't that some shit? So it goes up 50% just because you put white pictures in the house. And I've heard of several stories like this, family, where you make the home appear to be like whites live there, and all of a sudden the value goes up. You know what I mean? So just your black skin alone gets devalued in all these different aspects of life. Because this is not just racist, but I would think if this happened to me and my family, you would have to take a step back and say, God damn, where am I at? What country am I living in? Where it's 2021 and we still got this subliminal ass, covert ass racist system that find ways, because we here I'm gonna go over a couple different figures here because it talks about, yeah, home ownership, long recognized as a valuable wealth building tool, remains more common among white families than black ones. According to the Census Bureau, 44% of black families owned a home in the first quarter of 2020, compared to 74% by white families. So again, sometimes numbers don't lie, right? But they can be misleading. So when you look at these numbers, you ultimately think, the first thing anybody would think is, okay, shit, these niggas ain't buying houses. They don't know how to buy houses. They ain't got the money to buy houses. They don't have the fortitude to buy a house, right? But in actuality, we got generations of melanated people in this country with no financial literacy, right? With no financial literacy. They didn't have grandpas and uncles and family members who own houses. So when it comes time for us to partake in some of this shit, we have no idea about it. And then sometimes you find yourself where you go to get a loan, or you find yourself where you are trying to move into a particular neighborhood and you're getting all this red tape. You know what I mean? So yeah, do we need to strengthen how we view finances and how we use our money and aggregate our money to do better things with it? Yes. But we also got to keep in mind that this system willingly and purposefully continue to try to throw us under the bus, continue to put us in a position where we're at the lowest totem pole in this society. And I was speaking about that a little earlier because some people always tell me, well, Asians or Arabs, even African immigrants, they come to this country and they get a leg up. Well, they come to this country and they take advantage of set-asides. They take advantage of grants and different things that should be for the poorest people in the current country, not the motherfuckers coming over. You see what I'm saying? So because of the civil rights movement and us needing to get bashed in our head to create legislation in this country to give immigrants things, we didn't anticipate we would get left out of this shit. You know what I mean? That's why when it comes to us wanting tangible benefits in this country, that's why some of us say we need specific things for us, right? We need things that are specific specifically set aside for melanated Americans because we see when shit is just for minorities, then we talking white women, we talking gay men, right? They shove everybody into the minority goddamn list, and you end up getting the short end of the stick like we always do, right? So this is a horrible practice in this country, but we need to be aware of where we live. Now, there's no absolutes, right? I always say this, like my boy Zoe Williams said, there's no absolutes in the universe. So are all real estate agents racist? No. Or every time a black person try to buy a house, are they going to be hit with all these roadblocks based on how they look? No, but it shouldn't happen at all. You know what I mean? That's the goddamn point that I'm making. It shouldn't happen at all because this couple, let's just say they didn't get their white partner to help them out, right? Let me read some quick numbers to you. This shit was almost amazing. So when they got their home appraised the first time, it was at $900,000, basically $982,000, right? That was just $100,000 more than they bought the house for. They in the Bay Area, so houses are kind of expensive. Their house was $800,000, right? So that's a $100,000 bump up, right? So if you paid, because they paid $400,000 to put the renovations in the house, so right, that's feeling as if it was a loss, right? So what if they just moved on and they just said, okay, we take it as at face value and move on with that, right? When the second appraiser came in, the home went from $980 something thousand to 1 million, basically to 1.4 million is what the house went to. So we looking at almost a $500,000 jump that they would have been missing out on. So when we talk about $500,000 in America, that's enough to get wealth started, right? That's the wealth they talk about when they talk about real estate. But if we're in a position where we get denied this because of our skin color, then we end up fucked anyways, right? So I'm happy that this family talked about it. Again, family, when it comes to combating a lot of this shit that we see, first things first, you got to talk about it. First things first, you got to bring attention. You can't just let people treat you a particular way and not say nothing about it, because now we can set a precedence for why it shouldn't take place. We can begin the conversation, which is a lot of this shit's long overdue, but we could begin the conversation of why things like this shouldn't be taking place in our society. You know what I mean? So shout out to that family for bringing light to this, and hopefully, because in my opinion, I don't know if there's a way to prove this, but the first person that did the appraisal, something should happen to them, right? You almost cost the family $500,000 because they was black. That's almost $1 million. You know what I mean? Most people don't make that in a lifetime. You see what I'm saying? So something should be done. Again, legislation should always be put into place to protect us from this system. But who are we expecting to put that legislation in place? The same system that does, you know what I mean? So it's a trickle down effect, and it's a horrible cycle that we find ourselves in at times. But I'm happy this family spoke about that, right? All right. So next and last news story, and then again, family, the topic, if you're just joining us today, the topic of the show is, what is a strong black woman? In your opinion, what is a strong black woman, and should we even use that type of terminology, right? Like,